Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown. Today we have Daniel Buerge, editor-in-chief of LakersNation.com, the place you want to go for all things Lakers. Daniel, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Let's get right into it, shall we? Not too much happening in Lakerland, huh?
No, that's what happens when you only get 4 playoff games and then it's time to go home.
I can't tell you how eerily silent it is in the streets of LA without any flags waving on the cars. Kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's not very often you see the Clippers make it further in the playoffs than the Lakers, but just because it's quiet on the streets of LA doesn't mean it's quiet in Lakerland. Plenty of rumors and things to get the fans interested here in the offseason.
Well, I'm sure everyone wants to know where Andrew Gautlach is going to sign next year, right?
Yeah, hey, D-League MVP, starting guard for the for the playoffs. Everyone wants to know that.
Are there any other impending free agents that might be out there that the Lakers need to sign or re-sign?
There's a big guy who they might bring back. I don't know, maybe you've heard of him. I guess he wants to go to the Warriors now, but that's the big thing. This summer, what is Dwight Howard going to do? Will he be back? Is he going to leave the Rockets, the Mavericks, a couple other teams we've heard, but that's the big one.
Now, do the fans treat Dwight Howard as part of the family? Would they be so upset if he did leave?
They don't, and it's really surprising to me. I mean, I have access to a lot of Laker fans with Lakers Nation, and I can't believe how the fans have almost turned against Dwight Howard. I mean, one bad year when he was hurt most of the year, and they don't accept him. I think the way that he's kind of butted heads with Kobe a little bit has rubbed a lot of fans the wrong way because most Laker fans are diehard Kobe fans, and so anything anti-Kobe is anti-fans. And so Dwight's really not in the good graces of the fans, and most of the people I see they don't even seem to be that concerned if he leaves.
So they feel like they can move on without him, keep Pau, and then win with this team as it is?
I don't know if the fans actually believe they can win with this team. I mean, obviously it's in the Lakers' best interest to bring back a guy like Dwight. You don't see many other big men like him anymore. But I just think fans are tired of excuses, and they don't. Maybe he didn't live up to expectations. Maybe they thought they were getting Shaq. Clearly, he's not Shaq. But fans just aren't happy with him for whatever reason.
What do you think he can do to rehabilitate that?
Win. I mean, the only way you impress Laker fans is you win. It's a whole franchise and a whole fan base that is predicated on winning. In their entire history, that's what they've done. They've won. If he comes back, he wins a title, boom, back on their good side, piece of cake.
Well, what do you think he's going to do? Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Is he going to try and go to Atlanta?
I think he'll come back. I think it's very hard to leave $30 million or whatever it is on the table in that 5th year. His agent is notorious for saying, you'll get that 5th year, we'll get you your money, and if you really are miserable, we'll get you traded. I think he comes back. I don't know. Would you pass up $30 million?
I have another 30 in my bank account right now, so it's, not so much a big deal to me, of course. But, listen, it's a real interesting thing because he's already gone through this in Orlando, and I'm sure he wants to avoid this happening again. This actually kind of ties into the notion of the coach because we know that there was an issue between Dwight Howard and Mike D'Antoni. What's your take on that?
Well, shoot, if Laker fans don't like Dwight Howard, they really don't like Mike D'Antoni. And I've been saying since the beginning, I don't think it's so much that they don't like Mike D'Antoni as much as they just wanted Phil Jackson. And they didn't get him, and D'Antoni represents the replacement. He represents not Phil Jackson. But there have been rumors that maybe Dwight and D'Antoni aren't getting along, and if Dwight wants to re-sign with the Lakers, and he's going to want his own guy in there, well, the Lakers just committed to a few years for D'Antoni, so are they going to be able to fire him and bring in a guy to make Dwight happy? There's a bunch of moving pieces here. And ultimately, the main one is going to be Dwight, what he does, and then once that first domino falls, we'll begin to see the other ones. I think at the beginning of next season, Dwight Howard and Mike D'Antoni will be on the Lakers.
Okay, well, the bold prediction you have there, although it seems like that's where we're going towards. And let's talk a little bit about Kobe. What's happening there? Have you seen these pictures of him and his surgery and his legs?
Yeah, did you see he posted the actual surgery with his open Achilles on Instagram? I could have done with a warning on that before I open. Give me a graphic content warning for that one, Kobe, so I don't lose my lunch. But he posted today. He got out of the walking boot. Sounds like he's recovering. If there's anything we know about Kobe, it's that he's going to do whatever he can, whatever it takes to be ready to go opening night. And I would be stunned. He won't be 100% by opening night, but if he's not on the court in uniform on opening night, I'd be really surprised.
I would say that there's no players out there that would be able to do this. And if there was one, it was going to be Kobe. It's the one guy who might be able to handle that kind of injury and coming back that early. There might not be a reason to come back that early. Right now, as constituted, if they bring back Dwight, I mean, they basically have the same team they had this year, right?
Right, and that's one of the things Kobe was almost advocating for in his exit interview with the Lakers this season is bring these guys back, bring back Pau, bring back Dwight. Let's try again, see if we can do it without the injuries this year. Obviously, that was a big thing is, nobody could stay on the court. And so Kobe really was pushing the front office hard to do that, to say, give me my guys back, we'll try again next year. If we can stay healthy, we can still do it. I don't know if the front office believes that. I think Kobe believes that. But obviously, there was more wrong with this team other than the fact that they got hurt. I mean, there were some serious issues on the defensive end. Most of these guys are swinging doors, And so there's a lot more going into it besides just staying healthy.
Well, the way we're describing this, it seems like, Mike D'Antoni is the stepdad, and maybe Dwight Howard is the stepbrother who came in, who's kind of, people aren't happy with. But in that case, it feels like Pau Gasol would be like the middle child who just needs a hug.
Yeah. That's how Pau's always been, too. I mean, to me, he's the most underappreciated guy I've ever seen. I mean, he's a surefire Hall of Famer. His number is going to be hanging in the rafters at Staples someday, as it should be. But right now, Pau's kind of the odd man out, and that's has a lot to do with the fact that they don't have a lot of other tradable assets. They don't have a lot of things. You mentioned Andrew Galdock. No team is banging their door down to get a guy like Andrew Galdock. And so Gasol is really their only option. And so if they do want to make a move, if they want to try and get younger or shift the roster around a little bit, moving Gasol is really the only option they have.
How would Lakers Nation feel about that?
I think it depends on what they get back. I think Lakers fans understand what Gasol has done for this team. Fans have been hot and cold on Gasol over the years that he's been here. But overall, they're going to look back and say, hey, the guy won 2 titles with him. I mean, they're not winning either of those titles without Gasol. The guy's a legend, and he should be with the Lakers. But it gets to a point where, maybe it's time to move on. And right now, I feel like that's where the Lakers are. I mean, he played great at the end of the season, so I feel like his trade value will never be higher again than it is now. I think the right move for the Lakers, if they're going to get anything out of Gasol, now's the time to do it.
Am I crazy, or were there Twitter rumblings about Pau for Mark? They want Mark instead.
Twitter rumblings don't necessarily mean legitimate rumors. I think the Pau for Mark trade that we saw back in 2008 was the only time we're ever going to see a Pau for Mark trade.
Oh, but the Lakers fans, it sounds like they would love to have Marc Gasol instead of Pau.
Yeah, of course. But, I mean, also, Pau's a few years older. Mark is turning into a great player, defensive player of the year. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think if Laker fans had that option, sure, of course, they'd pull the trigger. But the thing with trades, I don't think most Laker fans, especially on Twitter, understand is the other team actually has to agree to that trade. So,
right. Now, let's talk a little bit about Metta World Peace and his role in all of this. He has endeared himself to the Lakers Nation. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody loves Metta. I mean, he's kind of, if we're using family metaphors, he's kind of your crazy cousin where you're just like, yeah, that's Metta, He just released a children's book yesterday. I mean, he's still doing his mental health campaign and stuff, and so great for him. I love seeing him out there doing that stuff, and that's endearing. But in terms of on the court, he's definitely he's not there anymore. He's not in his prime. He's an aging veteran. I don't think he'll be back next season. He's mentioned opting out. I think if his agent gives him good advice, he'll say don't opt out. But I would be surprised if the Lakers didn't finally use their amnesty clause on him. He's not a great outside shooter. His strength in the past was defensively, and he really wasn't that great on defense anymore. He can't do it anymore, and that just happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's certainly lots of stuff from him. I look forward to hearing all his tweets all summer long because they're always very entertaining. In fact, of all the NBA players out there, I feel like he'd be the one guy I want to hang out with the most. How about you?
I can't disagree with that. You'd certainly have some good stories to tell. I mean, that's the great thing about the Lakers. Of all these other teams, there isn't a single team that is as interesting on social media as the Lakers. Pau is just uplifting and positive all the time. Every tweet is just like, oh, Pau, you're so sweet. And then Ron and Kobe are doing crazy things. It's just being a Laker fan, at least it's interesting.
Oh, well, it's funny because Kobe, we were tweeting one night about whether or not Kobe really writes his own tweets, because they're definitely a little nutty, a little funny sometimes. And I thought, it doesn't sound like the Kobe that I know. And he chimes in the middle of this whole conversation to tell me that, yes, it is indeed him that did it, and that was kind of interesting. And, we've kind of been brutal on Kobe over the years about the way he plays, but he certainly endeared himself to me with that little exchange. So, anybody else on the Lakers that's fun to follow?
Those three main ones. Can we count Phil as a Laker since he's on Twitter now? I mean, he's engaged to Jeannie, so that kind of counts, right? Mm-hmm. Phil's fun. He's been tweeting about hockey a lot. Phil's a big hockey fan. A lot of fans don't know that. But in terms of Laker players, those are your three main ones. Even Dwight doesn't tweet that much anymore. So I guess we have to just wait and see if they bring in anyone else that's fun on Twitter.
Well, Daniel, thanks for coming in from LakersNation.com. Tell us, how do we find you on Twitter to get all the latest news?
Well, for Lakers Nation, we're at Lakers Nation. You can follow us there. We do game updates. All your news rumors and stuff are there. If you find me particularly interesting, I'm on Twitter as well at DanielBuerge_LA. Well,
thanks for coming on. And don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in? Are you in?
I'm in.